Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and today I'm here with sort of an introduction video. And before we start, I apologise for the low lighting. Here in Wales it's been dark for so long. It's winter months and I like to film in natural light, as you know. So let's get right on with this. A few weeks, probably about 3 weeks ago, I received a gift from PM Artist Studio, and it was this. Now, Mariah and Patricia kindly sent it to me because they were introducing a new designer to the design team, and the designer is Caleb Rose. He's an 18-year-old, very talented in lots of different genres of creativity, and we as the designers wanted to support his very first design for PM Artist Studio. So it comes as two parts. If I can get them apart. I don't know which is top and which is bottom, but you can see there's one and then there's the other. So they can be used in conjunction with each other or with themselves. So put those to one side so I don't leave them somewhere. So all the details are on the screen, so you know where to find it. I will put a link to this in the description box, which is under the video title. You'll see a couple of lines of text and then the word M-O-R-E. It's in bold. Click on that. A description box will open somewhere on your screen, depending on the technology you're using, and there'll be a link directly through to this. So as I said, I've had this a couple of weeks. Might even be 3 weeks, to be honest with you. And I wanted to let the design marinate in my mind, because when you have anything like a product like this, there's always things that come instantly to mind, and a lot of us go with them. And I do exactly the same thing. I go with it. I thought, you know what? All of the fellow designers are going to be doing something with this, and I want to see whether my brain can push it in a slightly different direction. Now, there are a lot of wonderful, wonderful things already being done by this stencil set. If you're a member of Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists Facebook group, you will have seen them. If not, if you pop onto PM Artist Studio YouTube channel, you're going to see Patricia using it, and the other designers who are noted, like Darcy and Eddie and myself and Yolande and Rhonda and all of them. We've all played with it, except me, obviously, because I'm coming in late to this one. So anyway, Liquid Layers by Caleb Rose. Watch out for him. He's got more stuff coming. I'm excited to see what he comes up with in 2026. Putting that to one side. Now, I wanted to play, and I didn't know how I wanted to play. I didn't want to do the obvious. So I'm not going to use both of them in conjunction with each other. In fact, I'm not going to use this one at all. I'm going to put this one by and use it in the future. For some reason, this to me looks like pebbles in a river with water flowing through it, which, as it's called Liquid Layers, makes very much sense to me. So I think I might be using this in the future. I've got an idea this would look really nice in black, white and grey. But I'm going to put this aside. I'm not using it today. I'm going to use this one. Now, for me, when I have a stencil or a mask, my mind instantly categorizes things. Like, this to me is not a focal point stencil. It's a background stencil. And in such, it's very important, because you have stencils like this, which I call workhorses, the ones you always reach for, the ones that you can do umpteen things like. I mean, I could make just this as it is. I could do this in 2 contrasting colours and call it an animal print. I could use this in patches on a bigger piece. I could put colour through this and take the stencil off and then doodle into the patches. I could get interesting effects just by using it, flipping it over and maybe doing it at different angles. It gives you an interesting visual texture to the background. So let's get on with this. Now, this morning, and this is when I decided to do this, by the way, this morning, I was watching over breakfast. I don't know whether it's a reel or a short. I believe the artist was Vicki Reed, and Vicki did a botanical print using rose leaves. Can't remember exactly what she did. But anyway, it was beautiful. And it reminded me that the only leaves I've got left in my garden are rose leaves. So I went out just now and I pick some of the ones that are still surviving before they dry off, and I'm going to use them to sort of create something on here with a few layers and then a single pull. Now, if you're using rose leaves on your gel plate, do watch out because some species have large thorns in the back. This has just got tiny, tiny ones. I don't think it's going to actually damage my plate, but just be aware of that if you are using rose leaves. Now, and I want to use Payne's Grey. Now, the temptation for me is to use black because I know that this is going to be the detail that sits on the very front of the print, because when you're working with a gel plate, you have to work in reverse. However, my thinking then became, well, maybe if I use Payne's Grey, because it's got a bit of a blue to it, if I use yellow, which I might do later on, it will turn it an interesting green. So whether it works or not, I don't know. I'm taking a risk with quite a bit of this because it's a brand new stencil. Stencil's made of Yupo. Yupo will sometimes grab paint if it's a fresh stencil. So I'm going to come in. Now I'm laying them so that the veins are vein side down, because I want them to leave their detail behind on the plate. Now, what am I going to do with this when it's over? I might very well cut this into 6x4 panels and do them as card fronts or postcards, because I like doing that sort of stuff. Let's pop that by there. I really did like this one. Let's see if I can just snip that bit off there. They don't all have to be going in the same direction. Let's put the odd single leaf in here, because why not? If I've taken them out my garden, I might as well use them. Now I've got them on there. I'm immediately going to come in with some tissue paper. Now, this is wet strength tissue. I've only grabbed this because I want to work my way down onto the leaves, and I might be a little bit too brutal for gift wrap tissue because I want to get right down into the veins. And sometimes with gift wrap tissue, if you're doing that sort of thing, going down to the veins of the leaves, what you'll find is that the tissue gets saturated with paint, and then sometimes you have a problem because the tissue likes to tear. So I'm just coming down. I'm not sure that I'm going to get all the paint off in one go. I may have to come back in and put another layer of paper or tissue on this just to make sure everything is lifted off, because all I want left is actually the leaf shapes and the veins under them. So let's do a little bit of this. Okay, that's fine. And this will get used for something in the future, I can assure you. Let's just put that up there. Right, so I want to think about what I've got down here. And I do have a spare strip of wet strength tissue that I might just use just to take up some of the grungy bits that are left here. They don't overly bother me, but I want to use Caleb's stencils, or stencil in this instance, to give me a nice clean geometric type pattern. Well, it's not geometric, but a nice interesting pattern. So by cleaning as much of the gunge off here, or the messy bits as I can, it'll make all of the imagery a lot cleaner. So I'm now going to lift these off. See, and that's what I want to do. Now, I do have this behind. I could press this onto another piece of paper if I chose to. So I'm going to put them to one side, and I will deal with those later, or when I turn this camera off, which is going to be in a few seconds, because I need this to completely dry. Up you come. Oh, I forgot the little ones. Now, you could use tweezers for this. For once, I didn't cut my nails, so I've got nails to pick up things. And that's all dry. It only took about 2 minutes, so I'm not overly worried. Now, next I want to start putting some detail in. So I've got some raw sienna here, because this is, what do I want to call this? A botanical theme. I'm going to try and stay pretty much with earth colours, but don't hold me to it. Now I'm going to come in with, I've got a foam stamp here of my own sketchy circles. I'm just going to load up sketchy circles and come into areas that I just want some interest in without going overboard on it, if that makes sense. Let's put a little bit up there and just a little bit down there. The organic shape just called to be fitted in there. Okay, I'm going to clean this bit of paint off, and then we're going to go on to the next layer. But I do have to wait, as you've just seen. I've just put wet paint on here again, so I'm going to have to come in and wait for that to dry. So I'm also going to put my foam stamp in a bowl of water so that I don't have a problem with the paint sealing the stamp should I wish to use it in the future for ink. And I'm just cleaning up as I go, guys, just as a cleanup page. There you go, that didn't take long. Now I'm going to come in with a bit of light olive green. Now I happen to know this is quite transparent if I roll it out thinly, and I don't want much of this at all. I literally just want to put a hint of green into this because my colour choices for this, well, let's just surprise you with them. So I just want to come in, I'm just going to flick it with my brayer just to get something into here that'll give a hint at green. So I've got this on here now. I'm going to leave, I don't mind that it's wet at the moment because it doesn't bother me. So I'm going to come in now and I'm going to choose magenta. Now magenta is probably a surprise choice for you, but I'm only going to do a little bit of stamping with it. So I know it's not going to dominate, but it might give a little bit of something in the background. And again, it's not that thick of a colour. I'm going to use the sketchy squares. It is sketchy squares. And I'm going to bring in sketchy squares where the other pieces weren't. I'm also going to make sure I don't forget the middle, because you know me by now. I'm not bothered that I'm going in more than 3 places, because I know some people are like, Ceri, you didn't do 3 places. That's okay. So now this is totally dry and ready for the next layer. Now, we're going to now put Caleb's stencil liquid layers onto this gel plate. What I would say here is it's really important that this is completely dry. Yupo by nature, and it goes for a few other materials as well, likes to stick to things. So I'm taking a bit of a risk. If this was a stencil that already had paint on it, the paint was dry, I wouldn't be risking it. Because there wouldn't be any suction involved, but this might attach to that and pull it up. If it is, it's going to be a bit of a disaster, and we'll sort it out afterwards. So I'm going to come in now. The stencil is the same size as my plate, so I'm just going to put that on, and I'm just going to gently press it down. I'm not pummeling it down, I'm just pressing it down. The reason I'm not rolling it with my brayer is the brayer could pull up the paint underneath, which is not what we want to do. Now I'm going to be putting on here an opaque layer of paint, and I'm going to go for turquoise. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is a completely opaque paint, and what I want to do is I want the pattern and the design, this is where the background element comes into it. That's probably too much paint, but I can always, that's the joy of these, I can always undo the bottle top, unlike some of these, which I love this paint, but you can't get the top off, so if I squeeze out too much, I can't put it back in the bottle, and I've got to, there's no problem, I can always use paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brayer this out, and I want to make sure I don't have too much on my brayer, because if I've got too much on my brayer, it will be forced under the stencil. And I'm just going to skip this across the surface until I'm sure I've got it on there. And then I'm going to continue the process to give me a nice pattern that is the one Caleb actually designed. Now, I'm working my way along here, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking at edges to see whether the paint is building up and giving me edges. I don't want to pummel too hard, because I said, if I bear down on this with my brayer, sometimes it forces the paint to go underneath it, and I want this lovely design to actually be quite pristine on here. Now there will come a point if you keep playing with the brayer and the paint where the paint will start drying and it will start to lift up. Now, here in Wales, it's been raining for about a week and a half, and it's dark and it's wet. And to be honest with you, I'm ready to find sunnier climes. Right, I think that will do. Yes, I'm happy I've got a good even coverage there. I do have stuff on here, we'll deal with that in a minute. Right, I'm going to take this off. Now with any stencil, I mean this one's a solidly built stencil, but with any stencil, when you take a stencil up, take it up carefully, whether it's metal, mylar, plastic, UPO, paper, card, anything. If you yank at a stencil, you're going to damage a stencil. So I just gently pull it up, let it come up. There you go, I've got some really nice shapes. I do have a slight bit of bleed, but funnily enough, the bleeds are where the leaves are. So this will go to one side. I'm not going to clean this stencil. I could flip it onto another piece of paper and possibly print off the spare paint from this. But if you do that when it's got its first layer of paint on, you have to be really quick or it will stick to the paper. Right, this needs to be dry and I need to clean this up. So I'm going to put this to one side. There you go, all dry. So I'm going to use one last stamp of mine, which is Sketchy Dots. Again, building left. Now, when I put this design on, of course, the marks from Caleb's liquid layer stencil is going to be in front of the dot I'm putting behind it. So that's exactly where I want it to be honest. Right, let's pull this in. Look, why is it white? Always does that. Someone did say, Ceri, you should wipe the ends of your piping tubes. Yes, I agree. I should. But you know what? When I'm actually creating, I don't think like that. It's funny though, that's the only one that naturally does that. Right. I'm picking this up and I'm going to come in and stamp behind here just to add just another layer of visual detail in here. A little bit by there. Remember, I'm cutting this up, so well, it's my intent to cut this up. We'll see when it comes out what I actually do with it. Right. This needs to go in water. This yellow is semi-transparent. So I want a solid colour back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this yellow with white. The white will actually calm down the acid colour within. And also what it will do is it will make the yellow opaque. So just mixing it, I just want a nice lemony colour. And the reason I chose yellow is it will bump up the green. It'll give a nice fresh background for the other colours on here. There you go. I think that was quite a good guess, to be honest with you. Right, and I'm immediately going to pick it up. This is going to be with £250 GSM, 250 GSM white cardstock. But what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to put it down and then wait. So Gary's going to have to go off and have one of his cups of coffee. So I'm just going to come in. I don't want too thick of a coat, but I need to make sure there's enough paint on here that it will pick up everything. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, I've had to release that thought many a time with my artwork is, yes, we would like it to be perfect, but there is no perfect. So I'm just giving it quite a thin coat, but I've got plenty of layers of paint on there. And then I'm going to, it doesn't look like it's got enough. And then that's going to come in, put this down on top. And I'm immediately going to go in and press it down. I'm pressing quite firmly here. And then once I've made sure it's in contact, I'm not worrying about that drying. I'll deal with that later. So here we are. It's been about 30-35 minutes. I've deemed that enough time because the print is smaller than my normal 12 by 12. Also, we didn't use very thick layers of paint anywhere. So I think that's going to be enough. As with anything with a gel plate or even art, it's in the lap of whoever wants to, lap of the fates, let's put it that way. So it doesn't feel cold. That means it's probably dry. So let's just loosen up the edges a little bit. I'm just running my finger along the edges. Now, you can take the gel plate off the print instead of the print off the gel plate. I'm just used to doing it this way, that either way will work. So hardest bit is actually getting it started. Now, if you have a gel plate that has a build-up of paint around the edges from previous prints, you would be advisable to press on them to crack those edges. So I'm just gonna, oh, it's lifting up nicely. Oh. Okay, there you go. That's a cute print. I'm wondering whether I want to actually give it a glaze, to be honest. A glaze is actually a single colour I put over the top very thinly just to enhance it. And I'm actually thinking, I mean, I love the print, don't get me wrong. I'm happy with it. I love what's in the background. I love the leaves in the foreground. I love the bits of detail. I have lost the white dots. They're just minimally in the background, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm thinking I could put some red iron oxide on that, and that would make it look really dramatic. Let's do that. Let's get some red iron oxide. So this is what I'm talking of. It's transparent red iron oxide, and what it will do is it will give this a glaze, because the yellow to me isn't as punchy. Sorry, my gel plate annoying me. The yellow isn't as punchy as I expected it to be. I expected the yellow to be more, and the green has actually dulled it down. So I think a layer of transparent red iron oxide by Golden over the top of this will really give this impact. And it's not one of those things that we have. Always put your finger over the beak if you don't believe me. Ask me how I know that, seriously. That's another reason I don't like these bottles. Right, I don't need a lot of this, says he, daubing loads of it on there. If I've got too much, I will brayer it off, because I'm just looking for a really thin covering of the gel plate. Just as the term says, it's a glaze. It's a really, really thin layer. Get a little bit of that off there. So I'm just going to work this on here, because to me this looks like too much paint. I think that might be enough. It's very hard to judge when you've got an older plate like I've got, because the gel plate over time tends to stain. Naturally, it does no harm to the gel plate. I think that's probably enough. Let's put this down and give it a good old press, and hopefully this has changed the dynamic of the print. And then we'll talk about cutting it up. Right, it doesn't need to be on there very long. Oh, there you go. That changed it considerably for me. That's given it a real good punch. And you can see now that the stencil in the background has given it visual impact, but these are still in the foreground, which is lovely. Right, so here we are, all nice and dry. Now, first thing is, bring out my guillotine, because first thing I'm going to have to do is I want to trim these white edges off, because I know they're going to be useless to me. So it also gives me a chance just to make sure this is squared up, which sometimes don't always assume that the manufacturers have got like a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock or something, exactly 12 by 12 very often, especially when I'm working with a pre-printed pack of paper or card. Sometimes when you check it, it's not exactly right. So what have we got here? So we've got, excuse me. So I've got just over 8.5 by about 11 3/4. So I was saying I wanted 6 by 4s. So it's going to be a case of selecting areas I really like and then working my way around the rest. And I really like that bit there. So how wide is that? Right, so How wide is that? Right, so I think we're going to cut it here. As I said, we're not going to get perfect cuts all the way along, but I will try and get as little waste as possible. So at one side, and we'll sort that out in a minute. So I'm trying to hone down this bit here. So how wide can I make that? I'm doing 4. Right, so I've got to cut that off a little bit. Right, that will probably end up as a tag of some sort. So now I'm working with this. I know it needs to be 4. And it has to be 6 tall. Right, do I want... No, that actually will be all right. Sorry, I mutter to myself, don't I? So that's my first 6x4 piece. This will probably become a tag. Now, how wide was this? Right, so that's more than 4. I quite like this bit here. Can I make that into 4? I can. And can I make it 6? 6 will incorporate some of that there. Or I just make it a journal card. Actually, I wonder, should I do 3.5 by... Sorry, I'm muttering to myself, I know, guys. So actually, if I make that 3.5, I should make that by 2.5. 3, right. 2.5 by 3.5 is an artist trading card size. So there you go. That's the start of an artist trading card. I have this, which is 4 by 5. That would make a journal card. This would make a journal tag. Should I? No, actually, I don't mind that. What? No, I think we'll leave that as a journal tag. So let's just pop that out the way. Right, so all I've got are these little bits of scrap left over, which in my mind is not bad. So just so I know what is going to be what, this is going to be a journal card. I'm going to come in with my corner rounder, and I'm just going to round the corners just so that I know that this is now a journal card. An ATC, I normally leave the corners as they are. Right, I need to get one of my little gadgets. I made this, it's just a little template that I made, just helps me cut corners on tags. So I do have a video of how I made this. I have to try and find it. If I can find the video, I will put it into the description box for you. So that gives me a tag. And then this gives me my 6x4. That looks bigger than 6x4. Am I right? 6x4, I am right. Okay. So now the question is, what do I want to decorate any? I don't know how long this video is, so this is where we're at. Now, the 6x4 was the thing I was aiming to do. So I think I'm going to pull out, I'm going to have a look through the ephemera and see whether I can decorate any of these for you. So bear with me, guys. This was sort of, I'm going off piste here. I'm not sure this is what I was planning to do, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, guys, these are probably not going to be the most imaginative makes I've ever done, but I just sort of want to pull them together and just get something so you can actually see what I mean by finish them off. So this is the ATC that we made, and I found these two in my stash, and we'll put some words with this, I think. I'm not 100% certain yet, so I'm going to come in with some Distress ink, what am I saying? Distress ink vintage photo, just to give this a little bit more in keeping with the grunginess of the background. Just want to catch those white edges of his ears, or her ears. Let's not be sexist. Right, I'm going to use glue stick. The painted surface should be fine with glue stick. because I'm quite heavy-handed with my glue sticks. So just going to pop that on there. Now, an artist trading card is also known as an ATC. It is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. They're a little bit of art that can be shared with friends, families, other collectors, and they're wonderful. So I'm just straighten out his ear a little bit. Right, so you, young person, need to have that a little bit snipped off. Don't worry, it's a piece of a leaf, not a piece of the animal. Right, so I just need to look at it to make sure I can see that it's straight. You're not overly straight, are you? Just turn you slightly. Let's put a word or something up here. Right, I've got, that's a Tim Holtz one. These I got off, I don't know, Nicole from Relax Cut Glue recommended these several years ago. And actually today is a good day. Today is a good day. Just peel it off there. And it's been so long since I bought them. Please don't ask me what they were called. I'm sure I got them on eBay. I'm almost certain I got them on eBay. I have seen versions of them in other places though. Let's just put that down there. So there you go, that's quite cute. That's one. I would coat the back, and I usually stamp on the back and say when it was made, who it was made by, and on all of that stuff. Right, let's go on to, let's do this one. So this was the journal card. Now, because it's a rose leaf, I thought I'd best stick with roses. So I've got this, which is, what was this? This was a rub-on that I rubbed onto a bit of book paper and made myself a label from, and I quite like doing that. This is just a stamped saying. I quite like this one. Right, I don't want this. Don't want something in the background. I do feel it needs something else. Don't want a bit of book. I don't know whether the book's going to be lost. Let's just take a piece of this off. Oh, that's interesting. This is a very old book, so it's just falling to pieces, to be honest with you. I'm not sure I want book. Let's just take this piece off here. Yes, I think I will put that there. Right, it's going to be a bit tricky. Over to this side, by the way, I've just got an old book that I'm gluing upon. The trouble with old book page is it just disintegrates if you're too rough with it. So if you are going to do something like this, just be careful with it. I don't want to cover that up, but I'm going to. Right, I'm leaving a little bit of the border along the edge because I like the border. I didn't ink it, and I didn't ink on purpose because the inking motion would just have destroyed it, to be honest with you. Again, a little bit of that on there, over there a little bit. We might have to put a number or something on this. I'm thinking that needs a number down there. This can go across the bottom. Nature heals the soul, never a truer word said. If I line that up with that edge, I'm okay with that. Right, I want a number or something on there. Let's have a little bit of a peruse and see whether I've got numbers here. I do have numbers here. Don't know whether any are going to be narrow enough though. I don't mind something overlapping that slightly. Well, actually, that's probably about the right colour. See if I anything more imaginative. No, I do quite like that. So this is the joy of having a stash of ephemera pieces made, topper pieces made. So whenever I'm stamping, like this is one of my own stamped labels, I literally save all the spare bits of old book pages and edges of book pages, and then I periodically go through and I will stamp on them with numbers. I'll have a day where I'm just stamping numbers, to be honest with you, and stamping words and things like that, and that just gives me something that's unique to a certain extent. Right. Do we need one more thing up here? We possibly do. Maybe a label. Let's pull a label in. What's that? What's a holotype? Do I like a holotype? Maybe I don't. I like that. That's light. That lightens it up, and I don't mind that it goes all the way to the edge. I'm going to cut that off. Because it doesn't have to be red, so just have it coming over the edge there. Now I could wrap it round. I mean, all of these will be backed eventually. Let's just take a spare of that because I'm going to be covered in blueness otherwise. Over there. And I'm just going to go around the edge of this just to catch. I didn't cut that very well, did I? Just to catch the edges of these papers where they're stuck down. So there you go, that's my journal card. But as you can see, this is what I mean about a stencil being a workhorse. When you look at this, you don't really notice the stencil in the background. However, if the stencil background wasn't there, you would notice it wasn't there. So let's put those by there. This one, I couldn't find a rose big enough, but I've got this, which is a foam stamp by Darcy Sanders that I stamped onto book. Well, it was a clean-up braille off sheet, and I put gold paint and then just stamped it and then fussy cut it. And I really like that. So I think that's what's going to go on there. Let's get that stuck down. So yes, this part of the video was unplanned, so that's probably why I look a little bit disorganized, because I wasn't planning on doing this bit. But I thought these look really lovely there. Now I am going to sacrifice some of these, those ones, but then possibly reutilize these two pieces. Press down. So if I bring this in now, I can extend this across here. Do I come all the way from there? I do want to come all the way from there. There you go. So I've made the design even more complex than it was before. A little bit of a tidy up in R5. Are you stuck down? Yes, you are. It's my fingers are sticky now. They keep lifting up. So I'm not sure what else I should put on there. I mean, obviously I can put a label on there. I've got one that really would pop. Oh, what's in here? I forgot about these. These were, I had, what's it called? Some papers left over from a pack. And I basically just stamped frame stamps onto them, which made these. I quite like it's a bit brighter. Well, that's sort of middle ground, isn't it? I'd like something with flower on it or colour on it. Well, that is a rose. What about I do two of those? I'll have a think. A little cluster of something would be nice, but I don't think two makes a cluster. It needs to be more than two. Actually, they're all the same size though. That's the thing that bothers me. Let's see if I can find something that, where was that round thing I had? Oh, I've seen another round one in here. Let's do that. Sorry guys, on the fly, as I said, make it up as we go along today. If I can pick stuff up, that is. Well, I don't need to go around those, just this. So the reason I've chosen round is because it just would look odd if everything was the same shape. Personal choice, obviously, but that's just the way I think it works for me. So that goes there. This can go vertically. I'm talking about that one there that's got the rose on it. I quite like the fact it goes all the way down there. Why does that not look straight? Because it isn't. There you go. And then this one can go across there. I'll do it that way. I feel like I need a word or something in there. Certainly not a number. Something doesn't feel right about this one. Right, let me just pull in some little number stamps. Not stamps, labels. Maybe. Do we think that looks... That kind of looks okay. There's certain things about this piece that are bothering me. I don't know whether I'm making it better or making it worse, to be honest. Right, that's how I feel. I need something. I've got some words or something. What have I put? There they are. Excuse my reach. Right, let's see if there's anything in here that grabs me. Bidding farewell to the warm. That sort of says everything about where we're at the moment. And I think I'm going to pop that up there, because obviously for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we are bidding farewell to the warm, I can assure you. In Wales, I think we've already bid farewell to it. And then I'd like something down here-ish. Probably not that. I've got pink there and nothing pink down here, so... Adventure is worthwhile. So is experimenting with your art pieces. There you go. Not my favourite. I must admit there's something lacking and I haven't got the time to sort that bit out yet. I might come back and look at that. Right, and on to my last piece, which is this one. Right, I'm going to put this by a second because I want to pull in some matte medium, because I've got this rice paper piece by Samperia, a mushroom, and I love mushrooms. So I'm going to put this on with matte gel medium, which is the brand I like to use. And I'm hoping that the paint behind is not going to lift, because it's not exactly cured, is it? It was only done, what, half an hour ago at the most? Now, the reason I chose matte gel medium instead of the Pritt stick is because the moisture in the matte gel medium will help this disappear into the background. It's never going to be completely invisible on this background, because obviously the background is dark and the foreground is not. But I don't mind it looking like this. This is good enough. And then when it's dry, I will probably go over these edges with, what am I trying to say? Vintage Photo Distress ink, and then that will just blend that out. Right, I wanted to put this at the bottom. Well, you've certainly got full speed ahead Ceri today, I can assure you. This video was supposed to have been launched yesterday, but it was way too dark here in Cardiff. I couldn't film because I filmed with natural light. So, and to be honest with you, it's probably a bit dark still, but I'm hoping and praying that it's going to be all right. Right, that's okay there. I don't mind that, actually. So I'm trying to work out whether something there or there. Something there is calling to me. That would be about the right shape. It's just a selection of numbers. It's fine. pop you there, and I think we're finished. Right, give me a second. I'm just going to put the hairdryer on this one so that it's dry, and then I can just ink off those edges so you can see what I mean by how it will change character. Okay, that only took a few seconds just to dry it off, so all I'm going to do is just take a bit of ink, my vintage photo, and then I'm just going to do small movements around the edges just to catch the edge. I'm sort of tilting this, so if you're looking at it, I'm sort of tilting it in this way, just so I can get that edge to catch the edge of the rice paper. Now, you're never going to get rid of it completely if you're putting it onto a darker background, but I can certainly take the starkness out of it, as you can see there. So, I mean, I could have come in if I had something to sit on there. I mean, I could have put a small frog, I could have put a fairy, anything like that. So this was just the makes for today. So out of that 1 9x12, we made an artist trading card, cute little artist trading cards. We made a journal card, which was this one. We then made, is this a 6x4? This is the 6x4. This was my postcard. It could easily go on a card. It could be a card front as well. And then you put something underneath it. And then this was the tag. You've just seen me finish it off. So guys, this was just an example of what I mean by a workhorse when it comes to stencils. So just from that pattern there, I've made all of that interesting. Now, if you look at this, you don't see the background, but the background is in there. You can see that that sort of being green and shapes looks like it's foliage in the background. But as I said with the other one, if I did this in blues and greys and whites and blacks, maybe it looked like water going around pebbles. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And a big thank you to Mariah and PM Artist Studio for sharing one of their new designers with me. Looking forward to seeing what Caleb's going to come up with next. It's been a pleasure, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I did. I had a chance to play. So, I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time. Goodbye now.